First of all, Pinhas, I would like to thank you on behalf of the Georgia Dental Lab Association and myself. I'm Keith Miolen, and I am the Futures Chairman of the Georgia Dental Lab Association and editor of the Communicator, which is the GDLA magazine.
Nice.
And we are very privileged and honored to have a moment of your time to allow us to interview you. So why don't you just take a couple of minutes and just tell us maybe a little bit about Pinhas that we don't know.
Well, first of all, thank you again for the privilege of being interviewed. And I'm the first because my name starts at A, so I have to be the first, always the same. I've been first in many things. So my journey began a long time ago. Well, people have different perception of me. Like you said, people think that I accomplished. People call me, oh, he's lucky. He's been working with famous dentists, famous patients. He's lucky. It was right place, right time. But it's not as simple as it sounds. So my humble beginning, obviously I was born in Russia, Georgia, which is a communist country. And so I was always different.
Right.
And we moved a lot. And one of our immigration was to Israel. So I was raised in Israel from age of 9. And, to adapt new language and being in a new place, starting over, my father was my example of, if you have yourself, you can start over anytime you want. So it was a very gutsy move. So I learned from that point. And so young age, when I was in Israel, I had challenges because I didn't speak English. I couldn't adapt to Hebrew. And when I was at school, early age, I discovered this technology school, which was for age 14. You have to go to high school. But in Israel, there's a program that's basically a dental laboratory technology school for young kids. The ones that don't like to study, which I was one of them. I hated studying, especially English and math and history, whatever. And so I wanted to be a car mechanic. So I went to apply to be a car mechanic. Yeah.
Wow.
It's very similar, basically, what
Right.
we do in car mechanic. And the school, when they do examination, they told me, no, I think you should be a dental technician. And I said, dental? That's teeth. Oh, that's disgusting. No way. I don't want to do that. Because I thought it would involve blood, and I didn't like blood. And because I was artistic, that was my gift, natural gift, they told me that would be better. So my parents were very happy, my dad especially. And so they took me for a test. And nobody gave me no blood, so I passed the test. It was easy. And so since at school I was one of the most talked about students, especially because of my exam, I went in the last in the exam and came out first because everything they told me to do I did fast. And in fact my tester didn't believe me that I actually did it. It was a drawing that they gave me to draw a tooth, occlusal view.
Okay.
And I did it fast, and the guy says, no, you're not supposed to put your paper on top. You're not supposed to trace it. You're supposed to draw it. I said, well, that's what I did. So he didn't believe it, so I had to do it again. And then he gave me something to sculpt with a little clay. Gave me a tooth. I didn't know it was a tooth. No blood. Look at it, sculpt it, and left. So he was saying, see, everybody, you should do it this way. So everybody talked about me then. So that was pretty good because I found something that it was easy for me. And since then, I was a sponge. I was learning a lot faster than most people because I was spending more time, more hours. I just found this passion, carving teeth with stone and just being involved with anything I can get. So the program was 4-year curriculum, but 1 year at school, full-time, and then 3 year, they sign you with a laboratory for 3 days. You have to show up at the laboratory 3 days, and then 3 days at school. And what happens with that, the laboratory reports your progress. So that influences the grade that you get at the end. It's not just school, it's both, real life and school, yeah. So that was fun. And so by the age of 18, before I went to the Army, I was graduated, and I learned lots of things in a private laboratory because I was staying late. I was staying maybe 12 midnight, 1, 2, 3, as much as I could just to do it. In fact, I don't know if you remember that. I've been doing this for over 36 years at least. So those days, if something threatening comes in your lab, like somebody wants to learn what you're doing, they will hide it from you. They don't teach you. They were like, don't look, because it's insecurity of you're going to lose your job.
Sure.
And that's how I learned. I had to learn by watching over somebody's shoulder when they try to hide, or learn by myself. So my boss at the time in Israel, he was very encouraging. Baruch Indig, who was my first mentor. And he was the best technician in Israel, Baruch Indig.
Okay.
And he was really, really a leader there. And he spent time with me because he was always working late, so I was staying with him. And I was, he was always correcting me and showing me the way. So it was a very nice mentor. So I got, invested time and my own time just to be excel beyond the other kids. And so when I started doing ceramic at age, I think 17, my teacher didn't know how to do ceramic. And so at school they tried to teach ceramics, so I was the teacher of my students at the same class, so it was kind of funny. So
Wow.
the teacher was asking me to teach. What else? At age 15, I had the privilege of meeting Willie Geller. And the way I met Willie Geller, he wasn't famous those days. He was just another technician who everybody talks about. And my boss, Baruch Indig, who brought him to Israel to give a course, hands-on course. So to help out at the course, it was hands-on. I was there making coffee and watch people, what they do, because I didn't really understand what they were doing. It wasn't my topic. Ceramic wasn't just gold and veneers and stuff like that, but no, plastic basically. So I didn't really understand. But we clicked. He liked me. He liked my enthusiasm, my willingness to help, and he adopted me like his son. I didn't speak English then, but I thought I did. But we were talking. And so he invited me. He was gracious to invite me, and I spent time with him. At age, I went there one time with my boss for 2 weeks, and then before the army, I was there another time for 1 month. So I spent time before my army service, because I was in the army for 3 years in Israel. If you don't go to the army, they put you in jail, so that's not an option.
Right.
So I had to come back. But at the time, Willie offered me a job to come to work with him in the lab at age 18. But I told him I had to go back for the army, and I'll come back maybe after when I get 21. And that's what happened. If you want to hear more, my army service was interesting as well. Because
I do. I was going to ask you, but please continue.
But my army service was interesting because for me, I learned a lot of stuff there as well, because people think it's a waste of time, but I think it develops your character. And what I learned is that life is very short, because ages like my age, people were dying there, especially during the war. So I knew I was spare my life for a reason. I had a purpose. So I always had a dream to do something big, something more. And when I went to the army, first they sent me to division of tanks. They transferred me to the hospital setting where they have a laboratory as well, dental clinic, and so I was also doing lots of victims who were burned in the army, prostheses in faces, like missing eyes, ears, nose, I was doing those type of things as well. And so I introduced the ceramic department there in the army. They never did ceramics, so I was one of the trainers to the ceramic department there. So it was a nice experience. I learned a lot from there. After the army, I went to Europe. That was my dream, to go to Europe and back to Willie Geller. At the time, I couldn't work there because the paperwork, Swiss government didn't allow foreigners to come in, the usual politics. So I went to Germany in the big lab. I was in charge of the ceramic department. It was a big lab, like 50 people.
What part of Germany?
Reutlingen.
Okay.
Reutlingen. It's near Stuttgart. It's a little village. It was a friend of Baruch. He knew him and he thought it would be a good experience. So I spent some time there. It was beautiful. It was great. Not my kind of long-term life because it was a little boring. It was a small village. But it was a good experience to see how to work together with 50 people and help them to encourage them.
So it was a large laboratory?
Oh, it was large. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And one thing that you have to understand, when I was young and I started doing ceramic, many people assume that if you're good, you have to be very slow. And that was a misconception all along. I knew how to do a great, beautiful tooth. Though the one thing that I was always seeking is to do that beautiful tooth as fast as possible. It's almost like a sport athlete, you try to break your record. So I was timing myself. It was like a sport for me. In fact, I was the human CAD cam those days. When I was in the army, I was working at night, because I was, during the day I was in the army, and then during the night I was working, and I wouldn't show up at your laboratory to help you out until you have at least 30 units, 30. And many times, a friend of ours accumulate like 50 units, 60 units. I go there all night and I just knock them out, 50 units. So I was like better than any CAD-CAM today.
Right.
And I was cheap. I was charging maybe like $10 a unit, which was pretty good. So that was my beginning. So I developed a speed of process, you know, what to do, what to move, because you can put 20 powders, you can put 3 powders or 1 powder. It's the same move. For me, it doesn't matter.
Right.
If you know where you're going, you know how to get there. It's like driving. If you drive 200 miles an hour, you better be a good driver.
Yes.
Because if you're driving slow, that means you don't know where you're going. So those technicians that believe you have to be slow to be good, that means you don't know where you're going, seriously. And that's my belief system. Some people may disagree with it, but that's me. So, so after the army, I went to Europe. I spent time in Germany. Then I was traveling, living in different countries. France, they invited me. I was there for 2 months in different laboratories, helping them out, teaching them. So it was a good experience until I met, I think it was culture in Germany at one of the meetings with Willie Geller was speaking there, and he introduced me to 2 guys from US. And one of them is Dr. Salenza, who passed away, the father, and then Dr. Goldstein, those 2 guys. And they both invited me to come because Willie said, hey, he's my best student, you know, he'll be a great asset. And I told him, sure, I'll try it, you know. US, I never really thought about coming here, but you never know, you know, sometimes your path changes
Sure.
one meeting.
So you ended up in the United States through
Willie Geller.
right, through Willie,
Yeah.
and then meeting Dr. Goldstein here in
Correct.
Atlanta and whatnot. Okay.
Correct. So basically I met Goldstein in Germany. He invited me to see his lecture. I saw his lecture. I didn't really speak good English, so I didn't know what to expect, but he was a good speaker, so he really did a good job as far as
Right.
speaking. The work he showed wasn't my taste. I mean, I thought, you know, so I told him, I said, I can help you with that part. But speaking, he was really good. So because he always asked me, you know, what do you thought of my lecture? He thought it was great. I said, well, your speech was great, but your work was like crap. That's what I told him the first time I met him. And he was like, what? I said, yeah. So he didn't expect that some 21-year-old, you know.
Sure.
So anyway, I was very honest, and I didn't speak good English. So a few words I had, I just gave it to him.
Right.
And so,
Just up front. Here you
yeah,
go.
just so you know.
Let's lay it on the table. I'm going to come help.
But I told him, don't worry, I can help you.
Right.
That was my message. So he was gracious. He invited me. I went to visit Salenza. I didn't like New York at the time. 30 years ago, it looked different than today. And for the salary that I was supposed to make, it wasn't my lifestyle there because it was expensive. So then I came down to Atlanta. I met Goldstein. They picked me up with a stretch limo. You know, for me, it was like, wow, you know, what a great service. A bunch of women, you know, in the office, like 50 women. So that's like paradise. So, and they were very nice. He had other partners. And then straight up, we started working, and they loved what I did, my skill sets.
Right.
And the salary was really low, so they couldn't complain. Actually, I was getting paid less than the guy who was leaving. I think at the time it was like $35,000.
Right.
And but it wasn't for the money. I didn't come here for the money because I couldn't make it somewhere else. I was making good money anywhere I go, but
Sure.
this was just an experience.
A
And-
stepping stone.
Yeah,
Somewhat.
stepping stone
Yes.
for developing myself.
Exactly.
I did it for myself. That's all I did.
Right.
It wasn't just because I wanted to see work in the mouth, to develop different products, you know, engage with people that I couldn't in Israel. And because people ask me, why did you go? I mean, you were number one in Israel. Because I was. I mean, people thought I was the number one. Yeah, but, and in fact, somebody quote, I don't want to say his name, but he said, well, it's better to be a big fish in a small pond than a small fish in a big pond. And I say, that sounds good, but what about if you want to be a big fish in a big pond? So that was my attitude, so that's,
Right.
I left. So it's a thought process. But one thing that I think many people fail is really to take steps, and the reason because they're comfortable. I was comfortable in Israel. I was
Right.
comfortable anywhere I was. I didn't have to come here. Money wasn't issue. I was respected. I could travel. I can lecture. I can teach. But I didn't want to be comfortable. I want to grow and be more than what I envisioned of myself. And so before I left, one of the tempting offers that I had was for my ex-boss to be a partner in his business. He had a large business at the time, 20 people, maybe 30 people, and he offered me like $10,000 per month at age 22. $10,000 a month, that's a lot of money. 30 plus years ago, that's a lot of money. So I had to turn it down, because if I took that money, I'll probably never execute my dreams, because that's one of the things that happens to most people. They get too comfortable. They don't want to shake the boat, basically, and so they stick with what they have. They say, oh, it could be worse. They think, oh, the other people don't have anything to eat, but at least you make 10,000. So they come up with excuses for nothing. So, but I'm blessed enough after all those things, and I've been talking to Debbie, my wife, on the weekend. That you look at and reflect. You know, right now, I mean, I get paid. I did a webinar. I made $15,000 in 1 hour. 1 hour, not 1 month, 1 hour. So the process and the journey I took, it was worth it, because you know I knew what I wanted, and that executed. So it was a vision, and some people made fun of the vision, but you know, it's a lonely road, but it is a road. So anyway, came back to Goldstein, worked there for 2 years, because that's what my contract had, you know, 2-year commitment, and then I left. And where I went to California, because my other dream was to be an actor. I want to be an actor.
An actor.
Actor, yeah.
Okay.
I want to be in the movies, I want to be famous, like, and at the time, I really didn't speak good English, like I told you, so during the 2-year contract that we had with Goldstein, I was doing lots of acting lessons and, you know, community theaters, and trying to develop my skills of speaking. And so when I went to California, everybody, in fact, I was lecturing with Goldstein. It was Quintessence Symposium there. I was doing a hands-on, and Goldstein was talking. We were doing like a teamwork type of show. It was like 1,000 people. So Goldstein says, Pinhas is moving to California. He wants to be an actor. Anybody who wants to help him? And so lots of offers came to me from dentists, right? And so, oh, I got this producer, I got this actor, I can help you. Everybody wants to help me, but everybody wants me to make teeth there. It's like, that's not what I was looking for. I can make teeth in Atlanta. I don't need to make teeth. Right. So everybody promises things, but nothing really happened. But what I found, that everybody in California is an actor. Anywhere you go, everybody's got a job, temporary job, but they say, well, I'm an actor. So I didn't want to be one of those people. So what do you do? I'm a lab technician, but I'm an actor. I'm doing this as a part-timer. So then I decided, you know what? I have to take my life seriously. I have to be the star in my own movie. I write the script, I develop it the way I want. So I worked on myself, and I decided to come back and create a life that I have today. So it's a process, but that's what I did. So that's a nutshell, but that's a long story in a very short